This is a dining room table in a home, but the question is, whose home is it? Facebook suggests a certain type of a home that we should all be living in, and I would urge you to think it's a home we should be refusing. In a recent commercial, a commercial for home, they showed the following kind of ad. It was an ad where a family was gathered around a dining room table, and an ant was droning on, and it looked a little sad. And so the protagonist of the ad, a young, very attractive-looking woman, gets on her phone and starts tuning out. She starts looking at all the fun things her friends are doing, pays very little attention and very little effort, gives it thumbs up, and we're supposed to go, that's fantastic. I find that horrifying. And the reason I find that horrifying is, can you imagine if that happens again and again? What Facebook doesn't show us in that, if we were to look off stage, is that with a little bit of repetition, suddenly the ant realizes nobody cares, and she doesn't try anymore either. Nobody tries. And the next thing you know, instead of social networking connecting us, we're sort of alone. And so what's the antidote to all of this? And the antidote is something I think is very old, it has a very bad name, but it's etiquette. We're used to thinking of etiquette as something old and stuffy. It's associated with class and hierarchy. All the cool kids have sort of moved beyond it. But I think what we're starting to recognize is that there's a bit of a burgeoning movement that shows us that etiquette is really what enables care to be contagious. And that without enough etiquette, unfortunately, the conditions erode where we have apathy and selfishness. So what can we do? I think there's very small gestures we can do that enable us to get that kind of care and conscientiousness and effort in our lives. Take one example. What is this? It's a little bowl. It doesn't seem like it can do very much. But with a quick little bit of ingenuity, it can become a resistance bowl, right? This is a case that people have told me about where they have special family gatherings, and they know there's going to be members from different generations, that if they didn't focus, if they didn't have a chance to really look and listen to each other, it would be very easy to zone out. It would be easy to want to get onto their smartphones and not make that extra bit of effort. So they insist that the phones get checked in before anyone can partake. Well, what about if you're out? I call this the phone stack, right? Maybe some of you have done this. It's when you go to a restaurant, everybody stacks their phones in the middle, and there's even a penalty if you take it out. Maybe you have to pay for everybody's meal. So now, you might be thinking, okay, this is all very anti-technological, but that's not the point that I'm trying to make at all. The point that I'm trying to make is that in order for etiquette to be the currency of care, we have to take a certain conscientious with us wherever we go, and that means when using technology too. So most of us are sort of overwhelmed. We've got way too much email, we've got way too much going on in social networking. What can we do? And so I think there are a few small gestures that, even though they're humble, these are the kinds of things that make the social contract visible. They show us that reciprocity matters, that respect matters. In a sense, they kind of manifest a concrete version of the golden rule. Take something as simple as an email. Look, I'm a professor, right? So all the time, I'm getting emails from students that just begin with like, yo, what was the homework, okay? Now, to be sure, all of our correspondence can't have the formality of dear so-and-so with a very nice, lovely body and a formal conclusion. On the other hand, we've hit an age where people think this is just very archaic, that it smells of a kind of, oh, my dearest majesty and so on. But this is an important pro-social gesture. There are certainly times we're doing the shows, we're not just communicating information, we're communicating to people, and that we're spending the extra bit of time to acknowledge that they matter, and we're hoping that when they respond, they will also do so with consideration. And so when I think about this, right, I also think about something my daughter just did. Rory just turned 6, and so she had to do these thank you notes at school. And like most kids her age, she grumbled, oh, I don't want to have to do this. It seems like such an empty gesture. But there's something more profound to etiquette when it works than just going through the motions or being inauthentic. What it actually shows is that when other people do things, like her teacher, that matter, in order to show that that effort is acknowledged, you have to put in a little bit of your own. And so we hope that people like my daughter someday become the kinds of teachers who write notes to their students. A friend shared this, his daughter received this. This high school teacher wrote personalized notes to every single person in the class, explaining what they were doing well and what they could do better to succeed. And making that little extra bit of effort, showing that extra little bit of courtesy, is something that's going to stick with these students forever. In the end, there's always a basic question we have to ask. It's a question of ethics, it's a question of how to live, which is, are we going to take more than we give? Are we going to give more than we take? Or are we going to try to do so in equal measure? But that question doesn't really tell us in the end how to go about giving and taking. And that's really where I think etiquette comes in. So I want to tell you another quick story. So after Christmas, when my daughter got her iPod Touch, She wanted to send thank you notes as quickly as possible. So she said, "Dad, can I just send them with a quick text?" And I thought, wow, you've really internalized the logic of Silicon Valley efficiency. That would be the best way to get your idea across. But that's not really what a thank you is. And so we sat down and talked about it. Now, you might think I would say, there's never a space for texting for something like this, but that's not the point to draw. A quick text won't do. That really wouldn't be etiquette. Now, had she had wanted to put some effort in, maybe do a quick video of her making a song on her guitar and personalizing this, or having a specialized use of Vine, that would be something that would be okay. So etiquette would go with this kind of technology, just not the quickest thank you. Now here's Rory, and here's me. Now this is right before my brother's wedding a year ago. And here's where I started thinking, if we had a mature understanding of what etiquette is all about, we'd be better off. I was tasked with giving the best man speech, and I wanted this to go over really well. So I worked it and drafted, and I was afraid of losing my place. So I asked my wife, I said, well, can I keep a version on my phone so if I lose my place, I can just look down and remember where I'm at? She said, absolutely not. People will think you're checking your email. People will think you're getting on Twitter. This is horrifying. And so I gave in, and I didn't do it, and I just kept it on a note. But I actually think that's sort of wrong. If we had enough of a mature use of etiquette, we would be able to know that when people used things like that, they would be putting in effort and not detracting. Just like when we're in an event like this, if people had their phones out and etiquette were at a mature phase, we would think, oh, okay, people are taking notes. They're sharing what they're seeing. We wouldn't have to worry that they were tuning out and making the speakers feel unappreciated. And I do feel appreciated. And so I want to end by thanking you. And when we think of formal presentations, we usually say that a thank you slide is sort of, well, it's artless, it's sort of cheesy, there are better ways to go. But if we can ask people like we did at this event to turn off your phones, I think at the very least, we who are doing the speaking and have had you as a captivated audience can be a bit more formal in our acknowledgement. So thank you.